The morning sun peeked through the curtains of Emma Carter's childhood bedroom as she woke up on what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Today, she would marry Daniel Harper, the man she had loved for 3 years. Her heart fluttered with excitement as she glanced at the white gown hanging neatly on the closet door. It was a masterpiece, elegant, timeless, and everything she had ever dreamed of wearing on her wedding day. Downstairs, the house buzzed with activity. Friends and family members scurried around, adding final touches to decorations and ensuring everything was perfect. Emma's mother fussed over her hair, pinning loose strands into place while her best friend, Lily, handed her a cup of tea. "You're glowing," Lily said with a warm smile. "Daniel is one lucky guy." Emma couldn't help but grin. She thought about how they had met on a rainy afternoon at the local library. Daniel had been searching for a book on architecture when their eyes met across the shelf. Their connection was instant, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and countless memories. Over time, their bond grew stronger, and when Daniel proposed 6 months ago, Emma knew he was the one. As the clock ticked closer to noon, Emma stepped into her dress, feeling like a princess stepping out of a fairy tale. The delicate lace hugged her frame perfectly, and the veil cascaded down her back like a soft cloud. When she looked in the mirror, tears welled up in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pure joy. This was it, the moment she had waited for all her life. Meanwhile, at St. Mary's Church, guests began arriving, dressed in their finest attire. The air smelled of fresh flowers, and sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the floor. Everyone took their seats, whispering excitedly about the beautiful couple. Children played quietly in the pews while older relatives reminisced about weddings past. At the altar, Daniel stood nervously, adjusting his tie for the 100th time. He glanced toward the entrance, eager to see Emma walk down the aisle. But as he waited, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Hesitant at first, he pulled it out and saw a message from someone unexpected. His ex-girlfriend, Sarah. His brow furrowed as he read her words. "I can't stop thinking about us. I still love you, Daniel. Please don't go through with this." For a moment, Daniel froze. Sarah had been a significant part of his life before Emma, and though they had parted ways amicably, there were moments when he wondered if leaving her had been the right choice. Now, here she was, reaching out on the very day he was supposed to commit to another woman. Confusion clouded his mind as memories of their relationship flooded back. Was this fate, or just bad timing? Unbeknownst to him, outside the church, Emma stepped out of the car, clutching her bouquet tightly. Her father offered her his arm, ready to escort her inside. As they approached the grand wooden doors, Emma felt a strange sense of unease. Something didn't feel right. Still, she pushed the thought aside, reminding herself that today was about love, commitment, and starting a new chapter with Daniel. Little did she know, her world was about to change forever. As Emma reached the heavy wooden doors of St. Mary's Church, her father gave her a reassuring pat on the hand. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," he whispered with a proud smile. Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm the fluttering nerves in her stomach. She had imagined this moment countless times, walking down the aisle, seeing Daniel standing there, his eyes lighting up as he saw her for the first time in her wedding gown. But as the doors creaked open and she stepped inside, something felt off. The church was breathtaking, just as they had planned. The pews were filled with smiling faces, and soft music played in the background. Everything seemed perfect, except for one thing. Daniel wasn't where he was supposed to be. He wasn't standing at the altar waiting for her. Instead, he stood near the side door, his phone in his hand, looking pale and distracted. His best man, Jack, hovered nearby, clearly confused by whatever was happening. Emma froze for a split second, her heart skipping a beat. What was going on? Her father squeezed her arm gently, silently urging her forward. Slowly, she began walking down the aisle, each step feeling heavier than the last. Guests turned their heads, watching her glide toward the altar, But Emma barely noticed them. All she could focus on was Daniel, who now looked like a man caught in a storm he couldn't escape. When she finally reached him, Daniel avoided her gaze. His expression was unreadable, a mix of guilt and panic etched across his face. Before Emma could say anything, he muttered under his breath, "I'm sorry." Then, without another word, he turned and bolted out of the church through the side door. The room fell silent, the only sound being the echo of the slamming door behind him. For a moment, no one moved, no one spoke. It was as if time itself had stopped. Emma stood frozen, clutching her bouquet so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her mind raced, struggling to process what had just happened. Had Daniel really left her? At their wedding? In front of everyone? Whispers broke out among the guests, growing louder as reality sank in. Some gasped in shock. Others exchanged disbelieving looks. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not now. She wanted answers. But more than that, she wanted to understand how the man she loved could abandon her in such a cruel way. Lily rushed to her side, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Come on," she said softly, guiding Emma away from the altar. "Let's get you out of here." Emma nodded numbly, allowing herself to be led toward the back of the church. As she passed rows of stunned guests, she felt their pitying stares burning into her skin. It was humiliating, heartbreaking, and completely surreal. Outside, the bright sunlight mocked her misery. How could the world seem so cheerful when hers had just fallen apart? Lily helped Emma into a quiet corner of the garden, where she finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Through her tears, Emma managed to ask the question that haunted her. Why? Back inside the church, chaos erupted. Guests milled about, speculating wildly about what had driven Daniel to leave. Some blamed cold feet, others whispered about a secret lover. Meanwhile, Jack, the best man, was frantically calling Daniel, desperate for an explanation. When Daniel finally answered, his voice trembled. "It's Sarah," he admitted. "She texted me right before the ceremony." I couldn't ignore it. Jack sighed heavily, torn between loyalty to his friend and anger at his actions. "Do you realize what you've done?" he asked sharply. "Emma trusted you. Everyone trusted you." But Daniel didn't respond. He was already halfway across town, heading to Sarah's apartment, hoping to fix the mess he had created. Little did he know, his decision would have consequences far greater than he could imagine, and that Emma's story was far from over. Months after the dramatic confrontation at the gala, life had settled into a rhythm of peace and happiness for Emma. The storm that Daniel had brought into her world had finally passed, leaving behind clear skies and a renewed sense of purpose. With Alex by her side, she embraced each day with gratitude and optimism, knowing she had weathered the worst and come out stronger on the other side. One crisp spring morning, as sunlight streamed through the windows of her cozy home, Alex surprised Emma with breakfast in bed. The tray held all her favorites: freshly baked croissants, seasonal fruits, and a steaming cup of coffee. But nestled among the dishes was a small velvet box. Emma's breath caught as Alex grinned sheepishly, his eyes filled with nervous excitement. "Open it," he urged softly, sitting beside her on the bed. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up the box and opened it to reveal a delicate diamond ring. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at him, speechless. "Emma," Alex began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes, "you've changed my life in ways I never thought possible. You've shown me what true love feels like, unconditional, supportive, and real. Will you marry me?" For a moment, Emma couldn't speak. She thought back to the day Daniel had abandoned her at the altar, the pain, the humiliation, the heartbreak, and how far she had come since then. Now, here she was, being asked to take a step toward forever with someone who cherished her completely. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking with joy. 1,000 times yes. Their engagement marked the beginning of a new chapter, a celebration not just of their love, but of resilience and second chances. Friends and family were thrilled when they heard the news, showering them with well wishes and offers to help plan the wedding. This time, there were no shadows of doubt or fear, only pure excitement and hope. Meanwhile, Daniel's life continued its downward spiral. After the humiliating scene at the gala, he became increasingly isolated. Sarah had grown tired of his constant brooding and eventually ended their tumultuous relationship, accusing him of being unable to let go of the past. Alone and burdened by guilt, Daniel sought therapy, hoping to confront the choices that had led him to this point. Slowly, he began to understand the depth of his mistakes, not just in losing Emma, but in failing to value the people who loved him. As summer approached, Emma and Alex decided to hold their wedding in the very church where Daniel had once abandoned her. It wasn't about revenge or proving a point. Rather, it was a powerful symbol of healing and renewal. On the big day, the church was adorned with white roses and twinkling fairy lights, creating an atmosphere of warmth and love. Guests filled the pews, smiling as soft music played in the background. When Emma walked down the aisle, escorted by her father, she felt none of the anxiety that had plagued her before. Instead, she radiated confidence and joy, her eyes locked on Alex standing at the altar. He looked at her with such admiration and love that it brought tears to everyone's eyes. As they exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through every challenge and triumph, the room seemed to glow with happiness. After the ceremony, the reception was a lively affair, filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt speeches. Lily raised her glass in a toast, saying, "To Emma and Alex, two incredible souls who remind us all that love isn't about perfection. It's about finding someone who sees your flaws and loves you anyway. Here's to a lifetime of happiness." As the evening drew to a close, Emma found herself reflecting on everything she had been through. The pain of betrayal, the struggle to rebuild her life, and the unexpected gift of meeting Alex. It had all shaped her into the person she was today. Standing under the stars with Alex by her side, she realized something profound. Sometimes, life's greatest challenges lead to its most beautiful beginnings. Daniel's life with Sarah was nothing like he had imagined. At first, he convinced himself that leaving Emma had been the right decision, that rekindling things with Sarah would bring him happiness and closure. But as days turned into weeks, the cracks in their relationship became impossible to ignore. Sarah wasn't the same person he remembered. She was controlling, quick-tempered, and consumed by jealousy whenever Daniel mentioned his past. "You're mine now," she would say sharply, her voice laced with possessiveness. "You chose me, remember? So stop thinking about her." Her words stung, not because they were untrue, but because they forced Daniel to confront the reality of what he had done. He had abandoned Emma, the woman who had loved him unconditionally, at their wedding, all because of a fleeting impulse triggered by Sarah's desperate text. Late at night, when Sarah fell asleep beside him, Daniel would lie awake, staring at the ceiling. His mind replayed the events of that fateful day over and over again. He saw Emma walking down the aisle, her face glowing with hope and love. Then he saw the look of devastation on her face when he left. Confusion, betrayal, heartbreak. The guilt weighed heavily on him, gnawing at his conscience until he could barely breathe. Desperate for answers, Daniel started asking mutual friends about Emma. How was she doing? Was she okay? To his surprise, the responses painted a picture of someone stronger and more resilient than ever before. "She's amazing," one friend told him. "She's focusing on her work, helping kids, organizing events. Honestly, she seems happier without you." Another mentioned Alex, the photographer who had become a regular presence in Emma's life. "They look really close," the friend added casually, though the comment hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. Jealousy flared inside him, sharp and unexpected. The thought of Emma moving on with someone else was unbearable. Here he was, stuck in a toxic relationship with Sarah, while Emma appeared to be thriving. It made him question everything: his choices, his priorities, even his own worth. He decided he needed to see her, to explain himself, to beg for forgiveness if necessary. Maybe, just maybe, he could fix things. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel showed up at a charity gala hosted by Emma. The event was held in a grand hall decorated with twinkling fairy lights and vibrant floral arrangements. Guests mingled happily, chatting and laughing as soft music played in the background. Daniel scanned the room nervously until his eyes landed on Emma. She looked stunning in a navy blue dress, her confidence radiating as she moved gracefully among the crowd. Standing beside her was Alex, his arm resting lightly on the small of her back. They looked comfortable together, like two people deeply connected. Daniel's stomach churned with regret and envy. Summoning every ounce of courage, he approached them. "Emma," he said softly, his voice trembling. Both Emma and Alex turned to face him, their expressions unreadable. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Emma took a deep breath, her gaze steady and unwavering. "What are you doing here, Daniel?" she asked, her tone calm but firm. I wanted to talk to you," he stammered. "To apologize. I know I hurt you, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I need you to understand why I did it." Emma studied him for a long moment, her expression softening slightly, but only slightly. "You don't owe me an explanation anymore," she replied. "I've moved on. We've both moved on. What happened between us is in the past, and I'm finally at peace with that." Her words struck Daniel like a hammer. He had hoped for redemption, for a chance to make amends, but Emma's response left no room for negotiation. She didn't need him. Not now, not ever again. As she walked away with Alex, Daniel felt the full weight of his mistakes crashing down on him. He had lost the woman he truly loved, and there was nothing he could do to change that. Standing alone in the corner of the room, Daniel realized something painful yet undeniable. He had let go of the best thing that had ever happened to him. And now, all he had left was the mess he had created for himself. The weeks following the charity gala were a turning point for Emma. Daniel's unexpected appearance and desperate attempt to win her back had left her feeling conflicted, but only for a moment. She realized that while he was stuck in a cycle of regret and self-pity, she had already moved on. Her life was fuller, brighter, and more meaningful than it had ever been with him. And Alex, he wasn't just a friend or a distraction. He was someone who truly understood her, supported her dreams, and made her feel loved without conditions. Their bond deepened with each passing day. They spent evenings cooking meals together, laughing over silly jokes, and sharing stories about their childhoods. On weekends, they explored nearby towns, hiked through scenic trails, and visited art galleries. One evening, as they sat by the lake watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Alex turned to Emma with an expression she hadn't seen before, nervous yet determined. "Emma," he began, his voice soft but steady, "I've been thinking a lot lately about us." He paused, searching her eyes for reassurance. "When I met you, I didn't expect to feel this way so quickly. You've changed my life in ways I can't even put into words. You're kind, strong, and inspiring, and I want to spend the rest of my life showing you how much you mean to me." Emma's heart swelled with emotion. She had wondered if she would ever trust someone again after what Daniel had done, but Alex had proven himself time and time again. He respected her boundaries, celebrated her victories, and stood by her side without hesitation. Looking at him now, she knew she had found something rare, a love built on mutual respect, understanding, and genuine connection. "I love you too, Alex," she said, her voice filled with certainty. Tears glistened in her eyes, but they were tears of joy this time. "You've given me hope when I thought I'd lost it forever. Thank you for being here, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." From that moment on, their relationship blossomed even further. Friends and family noticed the change in Emma. Her smile was brighter, her laughter more frequent, and her confidence unstoppable. People often commented on how perfectly suited she and Alex were for each other. It's like they complete each other, Lily remarked one afternoon during lunch. Emma nodded, unable to suppress a grin. For the first time in years, she felt whole. Meanwhile, news of Emma and Alex's romance spread quickly, including to Daniel. At first, he tried to dismiss it, telling himself it didn't matter anymore. But deep down, jealousy gnawed at him relentlessly. Seeing photos of them together on social media or hearing snippets of conversation about their happiness only fueled his bitterness. Sarah, sensing his growing frustration, became increasingly demanding, accusing him of still having feelings for Emma. Their arguments grew louder and more frequent, leaving Daniel emotionally drained. One evening, after yet another fight with Sarah, Daniel stormed out of their apartment and wandered aimlessly through the streets. As he passed by a park bench, where he and Emma used to sit, memories flooded back. Their laughter, their dreams, the promises they once made. A wave of sadness washed over him as he realized how far he had fallen. He had let go of the woman who had loved him completely, only to end up trapped in a toxic relationship with someone who constantly belittled him. Back at home, Emma and Alex were planning their future together. Over dinner one night, Alex surprised her with tickets to a photography workshop in Italy. "Let's take a trip," he suggested, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Just the two of us. No distractions, no stress, just adventure and new beginnings." Emma hugged him tightly, overwhelmed by his thoughtfulness. The idea of traveling with Alex filled her with anticipation and joy. It symbolized not just a getaway, but a celebration of everything they had built together. As Daniel spiraled deeper into regret and self-loathing, Emma embraced her newfound happiness. She had learned that true love wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic sacrifices. It was about consistency, trust, and choosing to stand by someone every single day. With Alex by her side, she knew she had finally found the partner she deserved. And though Daniel's betrayal had once shattered her world, it had ultimately led her to a love that was real, enduring, and worth fighting for. The days following the abandoned wedding felt like a blur to Emma. The once buzzing excitement of her special day had turned into a heavy silence, both in her heart and in the small town where everyone seemed to know what had happened. Whispers followed her wherever she went. Grocery stores, coffee shops, even the park where she used to love taking long walks. People offered sympathetic smiles or avoided eye contact altogether, unsure of how to act around someone who had just endured such public humiliation. At first, Emma wanted nothing more than to hide from the world. She canceled all her plans, ignored calls from acquaintances, and spent hours curled up on the couch, staring blankly at the wall. Her mother tried to coax her out of bed with warm meals and gentle words, but Emma couldn't bring herself to eat or speak much. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Daniel standing at the altar, or rather, not standing there. And the memory cut deeper each time. But as the initial shock began to wear off, something inside Emma shifted. She realized that staying hidden wouldn't fix anything. If anything, it would only give Daniel's betrayal more power over her life. So one morning, she forced herself to get dressed, put on a brave face, and step outside. At first, it was small things, going for a walk, picking up groceries. But slowly, she started reclaiming pieces of her life. Her friends and family rallied around her, determined to help her heal. Lily, her best friend, organized weekly dinners at Emma's house, filling the space with laughter and warmth. "You deserve so much better than him," Lily said firmly during one of these gatherings. "Don't let him take away your happiness." Others echoed similar sentiments, reminding Emma of her strength and resilience. Their support became a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of despair. Meanwhile, Daniel moved in with Sarah, believing he had made the right choice by following his heart. But almost immediately, cracks began to show in their relationship. Sarah, though thrilled to have Daniel back, quickly revealed a side of herself he hadn't seen before. She was clingy and possessive, demanding constant attention and reassurance. Whenever Daniel mentioned feeling guilty about leaving Emma, Sarah dismissed his concerns, telling him, "She'll get over it." Daniel tried to ignore the growing unease in his chest, convincing himself that this was what he truly wanted. Yet, late at night, when Sarah fell asleep beside him, he found himself scrolling through old photos of Emma on his phone. He remembered how easy everything had been with her, the way she laughed at his jokes, how she always knew exactly what to say when he was stressed. Sarah wasn't like that. She was intense, unpredictable, and increasingly difficult to please. Back in her own life, Emma threw herself into work, finding solace in helping others. As a teacher, she poured her energy into mentoring underprivileged students, organizing after-school programs, and even starting a community book drive. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Parents praised her dedication, and her colleagues admired her determination. For the first time since the wedding, Emma felt a sense of purpose, a reminder that her worth wasn't defined by Daniel's actions. One evening, while volunteering at a local charity event, Emma met Alex, a quiet yet kind-hearted photographer who had been hired to capture the occasion. There was something comforting about him. His calm demeanor, the way he listened intently when she spoke, and the genuine interest he showed in her projects. They struck up a conversation about shared hobbies, and by the end of the night, Emma realized she hadn't thought about Daniel once. Alex began showing up at other events Emma attended, always offering to lend a hand or share a laugh. Though hesitant to trust again, Emma appreciated his friendship. He never pushed her to talk about the past, but instead focused on building new memories with her. Whether it was grabbing coffee after a long day or exploring trails in the nearby woods, Alex brought light into Emma's life when she needed it most. As weeks passed, Emma noticed a change within herself. The pain hadn't disappeared entirely, but it no longer consumed her. She was learning to stand tall, to believe in her own strength, and to embrace the possibility of happiness again. And though Daniel's betrayal still lingered in the corners of her mind, it no longer controlled her. Instead, it served as a reminder of how far she had come, and how much brighter the future could be if she allowed herself to move forward. Emma's transformation didn't happen overnight, but as the weeks turned into months, she began to feel like a different person. The pain of Daniel's betrayal still lingered in quiet moments, but it no longer defined her. Instead, she channeled her emotions into something meaningful, something that gave her life purpose and joy. Her work became her anchor, and the community she served became her family. Every Saturday morning, Emma volunteered at a local youth center, mentoring children who came from difficult backgrounds. She taught them not just about academics, but also about kindness, resilience, and believing in themselves. Many of the kids reminded her of her younger self, full of potential but unsure of their place in the world. Seeing their faces light up when they accomplished something new filled her with a sense of fulfillment she hadn't felt in years. Her efforts didn't stop there. Emma organized charity events, fundraisers, and book drives, rallying the town to come together for causes bigger than themselves. One particularly successful event was a storytelling night, where members of the community shared personal stories of overcoming challenges. Emma stood on stage that night, her voice steady as she recounted her own experience, not to seek sympathy but to inspire others. "Life doesn't always go the way we plan," she said, looking out at the crowd. "But sometimes those detours lead us to places we never expected, and people we never knew we needed." Among those people was Alex. Their friendship had grown steadily over time, evolving into something deeper without either of them realizing it at first. Alex attended nearly every event Emma hosted, camera in hand, capturing candid moments of laughter and connection. He admired her passion and dedication, often telling her how inspiring she was. At first, Emma brushed off his compliments, unused to receiving praise after everything that had happened. But as their bond strengthened, she found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't thought possible. One crisp autumn afternoon, Alex invited Emma to join him for a photo shoot by the lake. The leaves were painted in shades of gold and crimson, and the air carried a gentle chill. As they walked along the water's edge, Alex snapped pictures of the scenery, while Emma talked about her dreams for the future. She spoke animatedly about expanding the youth center, starting a scholarship fund, and maybe even writing a book someday. Alex listened intently, his admiration for her growing with every word. When they reached a secluded spot overlooking the lake, Alex paused, lowering his camera. For a moment, he simply looked at her, his expression soft yet serious. "Emma," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I need to tell you something." She turned to face him, surprised by the intensity in his tone. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this for weeks now," he continued, taking a deep breath. "You're incredible. Everything you do, the way you care about people, it's amazing. And I think I'm falling in love with you." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't anticipated this confession, though if she was honest with herself, she felt the same pull toward him for a while now. Still, fear lingered in the back of her mind. Could she trust again? Was she ready to let someone else into her life? Alex must have seen the hesitation in her eyes, because he quickly added, "I know what you've been through, and I don't expect anything from you, but I want you to know how I feel. You deserve happiness, Emma, and I'd be honored to be part of your journey, if you'll let me." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness this time. They were tears of gratitude, for Alex's honesty, for his patience, and for the hope he offered. Slowly, she nodded, a smile breaking across her face. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me, for believing in me." That day marked the beginning of something beautiful. Emma and Alex started spending more time together, exploring new hobbies, sharing meals, and talking late into the night. With each passing day, Emma felt lighter, freer, and more alive than she had in years. Love wasn't something she had planned for, but it had found her anyway. And this time, it felt real, steady, and safe. As winter approached, Emma realized she wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving. Daniel's betrayal had once felt like the end of her story, but now she saw it for what it truly was, a painful chapter that had led her to a brighter, more fulfilling path. And with Alex by her side, she knew the best was yet to come. The months that followed were transformative for Emma. With Alex by her side, she embraced a life full of joy, adventure, and purpose. Their trip to Italy became one of the most memorable experiences of her life. They explored cobblestone streets, marveled at ancient architecture, and captured countless moments through Alex's camera lens. For Emma, it wasn't just about seeing new places. It was about rediscovering herself and building a future with someone who truly cherished her. Back home, their relationship continued to flourish. Friends and family couldn't help but notice how radiant Emma looked whenever Alex was around. "You two are perfect together," Emma's mother often said, her eyes brimming with pride. Even Lily teased them playfully, saying, "If you two get any cuter, I might have to start charging an admirable tax." Through all the laughter and shared milestones, Emma felt grateful every single day for the love she had found with Alex. But while Emma's world seemed brighter than ever, Daniel's life spiraled further into chaos. His relationship with Sarah had reached a breaking point. Her constant accusations and controlling behavior left him feeling suffocated, and his guilt over losing Emma haunted him relentlessly. Late at night, he would scroll through old photos of Emma on social media, watching as she posted pictures from her travels and events with Alex. Each image was like a dagger to his heart, a stark reminder of what he had thrown away. Desperation took hold of Daniel as he realized he couldn't bear the thought of Emma being happy without him. Consumed by jealousy and regret, he decided to take drastic action. When he heard about another charity event Emma was hosting, a gala celebrating local heroes in the community, he saw it as his last chance to win her back. He convinced himself that if he could just explain everything publicly, she might forgive him. On the evening of the gala, the venue buzzed with excitement. Guests mingled under glittering chandeliers, enjoying music, food, and heartfelt speeches. Emma stood near the stage, Glowing in a sleek emerald gown, surrounded by friends and admirers, Alex hovered close, his presence a quiet reminder of the love they shared. Everything seemed perfect, until Daniel walked in. His entrance caused a ripple of whispers among the crowd. Some guests exchanged uneasy glances, unsure why he had shown up after so long. Ignoring the stares, Daniel marched straight toward Emma, his expression wild with determination. "Emma," he called out loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, "we need to talk." Emma turned to face him, her calm demeanor masking the storm of emotions brewing inside her. "Daniel," she said evenly, "this isn't the time or place." "I don't care," he snapped, his voice rising. "I made a mistake, a huge mistake, and I'm sorry. But you can't move on this quickly. You're supposed to be with me." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Emma, waiting to see how she would respond. For a moment, she simply stared at Daniel, her gaze steady and unflinching. Then, taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, addressing not just Daniel but the entire room. "You're right about one thing," she began, her voice clear and strong. "What you did was a mistake, a choice that hurt me deeply. But here's what you don't understand. Your actions didn't break me. Instead, they taught me something invaluable. They showed me my own strength. I learned that I don't need someone who chooses fear over love or selfishness over commitment." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "You walked away from our wedding, Daniel. And yes, it shattered me at first, but it also freed me to find happiness on my own terms, with someone who values and respects me. Alex has been my rock, my partner, and my greatest supporter. Together, we've built something real and beautiful." Turning her attention back to Daniel, she added softly, "I forgave you a long time ago. Not because you deserved it, but because holding on to anger wasn't worth it. So please, let me live my life. Let me be happy." Her speech was met with thunderous applause. Guests rose to their feet, cheering for Emma not just as a survivor, but as a beacon of resilience and grace. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but they were tears of triumph. Beside her, Alex wrapped an arm around her shoulders, offering silent support. As for Daniel, he stood frozen, his face pale with shame. The weight of Emma's words and the collective judgment of the crowd was too much to bear. Without another word, he turned and fled the venue, leaving behind a trail of murmurs and shaking heads. That night marked a turning point for everyone involved. For Emma, it was a declaration of independence and self-worth. For Daniel, it was the painful realization that some mistakes cannot be undone. And for Alex, it was proof that he had chosen a remarkable woman, one whose courage and strength inspired everyone lucky enough.